Good morning. I'm here with 3-year-old Josie to talk about introducing spurs to a young horse. This mare is relatively early in her riding career, about 22 rides, 23 rides by now. Mostly pretty low key. I've steered her around, just with my hands, my legs, and a little tap here and there from a dressage whip to move her shoulders over. But what I find is introducing spurs relatively early keeps them from becoming dull, and in the end they get accustomed to being light to your leg, and you never need to use these devices much at all later on. And if you watch the body of the videos I've done, the 100 and some videos, you won't see very many times when iron comes in contact with skin. That's because at this phase it does just a little, and the horse at this impressionable age realizes that your legs really mean something. Now, we see people say, oh, that's inhumane. I want to take a long time before I do that. So they spend a year desensitizing their horse to where if you did ride them with spurs, you'd have to pump them with them. Don't go around and get your horse to where you can thump on their sides like you're checking out a watermelon to see if it's ripe. Keep them light from the beginning. Start with introducing your legs, but if they're not real electric in their sides, if they're not real sensitive, then I will go to spurs relatively early. However, trying to be thorough and also being a devout coward, I start on the ground with my spur. That way, you don't have what happened to me when I didn't do that with the roan gelding Mike. He went around very pleasantly, was reacting well to the spurs. I thought it was all going well. I stopped him, and he thought about it. And he broke in two and bucked pretty darn hard. Came down to earth. Well, fortunately, he didn't go very far with it. He stayed about in the size of a box stall. And I thought, well, that's done. Yeah, he took another big deep breath and did the same thing the other direction and has never done it since. But what I should have done with him is what I'm going to do with this one, and that is introduce these spurs on the ground. Let her feel them against her side when my backside's not in the saddle. So I'll sort of pivot her around here. And what I'll do is just use this to move her hind quarter over. So I'll take the spur, lay it in an area where you would probably touch her with your leg and go, move over, move over, move over, move over. Good. She didn't even move that foot till then, but it was happening. So I'm going to say, move over, move over. A little more aggressive, move over, move over. Going to dig in a bit, move over, move over, move over, move over. There. And then I'm going to rub it off. I'm going to tell her that's not a bad thing. You just need to know when you feel that little bit of iron, you need to step over. As soon as she steps, I let her step away. I don't follow her with that spur. So the difference is like this. If you're using just your legs to push against the horse's side, this is what you get. This broad, soft pressure. With a spur, if you don't use real sharp rowels, which in my view you shouldn't, it's more like instead of doing this, you take your thumb and you dig in, and the response is going to come quicker because it's a little uncomfortable. Now, what I don't do with the spur is the equivalent of taking my thumb away and going, oh! You're not going to see me do that very often. You're not going to see very many good horsemen do that often. It's counterproductive to play Moby Dick and harpoon your horse with a spur. So I'm going to go back here. She's had a minute to sort of soak and think about that. I'm going to take my rowel and just press her. Press her a little more. And she's a little dull, so I'm just giving her just that little bit of, so when I say don't take it away and go like that, you may have to take it half an inch away, but then she should be much more responsive. Step away more quickly when you just put a light pressure on. There you go. And that's a whole lot more pleasing. She's not stressed, she's not hurt, she's not angry. And anything you do on one side, you do on the other side. So I'm just going to go over here, get her a little bit better on camera. And I'm going to lay this spur against her. Now what's interesting is, popular wisdom says you don't get a lot of carryover, that what you do on the right you got to repeat kind of verbatim on the other side. Yet I often find that when you go to the second side, they sort of understand the concept. So very often they'll be softer on the second side because there's some carryover. Now she's leaning, saying, how will that work? I'm going to push a bit harder. So I'm putting pressure on, but I'm not taking it away and stabbing her like I'm trying to mug her downtown somewhere. Press a little. There. That was good. That was very good. So I want her to be responsive, to know these things, have some pressure, but not to be scared. And I also don't want her to do what she volunteered to do there, and that is to move automatically before you put the pressure on. So I'm just going to take this, push a little bit more, and there. So that will get her to where she is sensitized to where she knows what this is, but desensitized to where it's not going to blow her mind. So we're going to go off camera for a minute. I'll get the rest of the way dressed, and I'll start to use these on her gently on her back.